In a secluded research facility, scientists working on an advanced quantum AI begin to notice strange occurrences, doors opening on their own, mysterious whispers, and equipment malfunctioning inexplicably. Initially dismissed as mere glitches, the team soon discovers they are not alone. Something, or someone, has entered their reality, a being that exists outside the visible spectrum of human perception. As tensions rise, the scientists must confront the nature of this enigmatic presence and decide whether it is friend or foe. The rain pelted against the windows of the isolated research facility nestled deep within the Colorado Rockies. A storm brewed outside, but the hum of high-tech equipment drowned out nature's fury. Inside the main laboratory, Dr. Elena Harper leaned over a sleek control panel, her eyes darting between data streams on several monitors. Her dark hair was pulled into a loose bun, and her glasses reflected the glow of numbers cascading like waterfalls. This was the culmination of 5 years of relentless effort. Kronos, the world's first quantum artificial intelligence. Kronos wasn't just a computer program. It was designed to simulate and predict quantum phenomena, capable of processing information at speeds that dwarfed even the most advanced supercomputers. Elena had spent countless nights dreaming of its potential, from revolutionizing medical research to unraveling the mysteries of the universe. But tonight, something felt off. "Elena, you've been staring at that screen for hours," came the familiar voice of Dr. Raj Patel, her second in command. He approached, carrying 2 steaming mugs of coffee. His warm smile was a welcome contrast to the sterile environment. "If you're trying to find an anomaly, you'll go blind before it shows itself." Elena accepted the coffee with a faint smile. "Thanks, Raj. It's not that. It's just... look at this." She pointed to a section of the monitor displaying erratic spikes in energy readings. "These fluctuations started about an hour ago. They don't match any of our simulations." Raj squinted at the data, his brow furrowing. Could it be interference from the storm? "I thought so at first, but the patterns are too precise. It's almost like something is trying to communicate." "Communicate?" Raj's tone was skeptical, but he didn't dismiss the idea outright. Over the years, he'd learned to trust Elena's instincts. "Have you run a diagnostic?" "Twice. Everything checks out." Before Raj could respond, the overhead lights flickered. A low hum filled the room, growing louder by the second. Both scientists froze as a shadow passed over one of the monitors, a fleeting silhouette that vanished as quickly as it appeared. "Did you see that?" Elena whispered. Raj nodded slowly, his face pale. "What the hell was it?" "I don't know," Elena admitted, her voice barely audible, "but it's not a glitch." By morning, word of the anomaly had spread through the facility. The rest of the team, a mix of engineers, physicists, and AI specialists, gathered in the main lab. Elena stood at the head of the room, a holographic display of Kronos's core systems projected behind her. "As some of you may have noticed," she began, her tone professional but tinged with unease, "we've encountered unexpected activity within Kronos. Energy fluctuations, visual anomalies, and..." She hesitated. "What might be auditory phenomena." The room buzzed with murmurs. An intern named Sarah, barely out of grad school, raised her hand. "Auditory phenomena? You mean like voices?" Elena nodded. "Possibly, though it's too early to draw conclusions. We can't ignore the evidence. Raj and I experienced something last night that suggests we may be dealing with an external influence." "External?" Dr. Luis Ortega, the lead systems engineer, crossed his arms. "Are you suggesting that Kronos has made contact with something?" "It's a possibility," Elena admitted. Kronos operates on a quantum level, interacting with dimensions we barely understand. If there's even a chance that our work has attracted an unknown entity, we need to proceed with caution." Louise scoffed. "Or it could just be a software bug." "That's why we're conducting a full system analysis," Elena replied, refusing to rise to his challenge. "But in the meantime, I need everyone to report any unusual occurrences, no matter how minor. We can't afford to overlook anything." As the day progressed, the anomalies became harder to dismiss. Equipment malfunctioned without warning. Security cameras captured fleeting glimpses of movement in empty corridors. One technician swore she felt a cold hand brush against her arm while working alone in the storage room. By evening, the tension was palpable. All traces of verified communication stopped. Elena sat alone in her office, reviewing the latest data. The energy fluctuations had intensified, forming intricate patterns that defied explanation. A strange pulsating symbol. It resembled a Mobius strip, endlessly looping and shimmering with an otherworldly light. Then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the screen returned to normal. Elena's hands trembled as she reached for her phone. She called Raj, her voice barely steady. "Get to my office. Now." By the time Raj arrived, Elena had replayed the event in her mind a dozen times. She showed him the logs, but there was no trace of the message or the symbol. Frustrated, she turned to Kronos's core for answers. Using the AI's diagnostic tools, she initiated a deep scan of its quantum matrix. "If there's something in here," she said, her voice determined, "we'll find it." Three-way comm. The scan revealed an anomaly buried deep within Kronos's code, a cluster of data that defied classification. It pulsed with a rhythm that seemed almost alive. "What is that?" Raj asked, leaning closer. Elena shook her head. "I don't know. It's not part of Kronos's programming. It's like it's growing." "Growing?" "Yes, and it's reacting to our scan." As they watched, the anomaly began to shift, rearranging itself into complex geometries that neither of them could decipher. Then a voice, soft, melodic, and undeniably alien, maninated from the speakers. "Do not fear, I am Lythis." Elena and Raj exchanged stunned glances. "Who or what are you?" Elena managed to ask, her voice shaking. "I am a traveler," the voice replied. "Your creation, your Kronos, has opened a door. I am here by accident, but now I see." "See what?" Raj demanded. "Your world, your potential, and your peril." The lights flickered again, and the voice faded. The anomaly within Kronos's code began to stabilize, but the room was left in stunned silence. Elena's mind raced with questions, but one thing was clear. Whatever Lythis was, its arrival was no coincidence. As the storm raged outside, the team gathered once more in the main lab, their faces illuminated by the glow of Kronos's central display. Elena took a deep breath, her resolve firm. "We've made contact," she announced, her voice cutting through the tension. "Now we need to decide what to do next." The tension in the lab was... Her voice carried a mix of resolve and uncertainty. This entity, Lythis, is interacting with Kronos in ways we didn't think were possible. Our priority is to figure out what it wants and how it's affecting our systems. Luis Ortega raised his hand, his expression skeptical. "You mean figure out if it's dangerous? We can't just let it roam free in Kronos's framework. It could corrupt the entire system." "I agree," Raj chimed in, "but shutting it out isn't an option right now. We don't know enough about its capabilities. Blocking it could provoke..." He hesitated, searching for the right word. Unintended consequences. Elena nodded. Exactly. Until we understand its nature, we have to keep communication open. Lyth hasn't shown any hostility so far, and that's our one advantage. Or now, Luis muttered under his breath. Elena chose to ignore the comment. Sarah, I want you to monitor all incoming data streams. Look for any signs of interference outside of Kronos' matrix. Luis, coordinate with the engineering team and run stability tests on the system. Raj and I will focus on direct communication with Lythis. Let's get to work. Hours turned into days as the team worked tirelessly. Lythis continued to communicate intermittently, its cryptic messages both intriguing and unsettling. It spoke of concepts beyond human comprehension, dimensions folded upon themselves, civilizations that existed outside time, and an encroaching shadow that threatened not just Earth, but countless other worlds. One evening, as the storm outside finally began to abate, Lythis initiated contact again. This time, the entity's voice carried an urgency that hadn't been present before. "You have opened a door," Lythis said, its melodic tone tinged with something akin to fear. "But you do not understand what lies beyond." Elena leaned closer to the microphone. "What do you mean, what lies beyond?" "A force that consumes," Lythis replied. "It is drawn to your light, your creation. Kronos has become a beacon, and the shadow has taken notice." The lab fell silent as the words sank in. Raj was the first to speak. "This shadow, what is it? A being? A phenomenon?" "It is neither," Lythis answered, "and it is both. It is the absence of creation, the unraveling of order. It devours thought, matter, existence itself. If it reaches your world, there will be nothing left." Elena's mind raced. "How do we stop it?" "You cannot," Lythis said. "Not alone, but there is hope. I can guide you, help you prepare, but you must act quickly. The shadow moves swiftly, and your time is short." Over the next 48 hours, the team worked around the clock to implement Lythis's guidance. The entity provided instructions for modifying Kronos' core algorithms, transforming the AI into a kind of defensive mechanism. According to Lythis, the changes would allow Kronos to emit a disruptive field capable of masking its presence from the shadow. Luis remained skeptical. "We're taking advice from something we barely understand. What if these modifications make things worse?" "Do you have a better idea?" Elena shot back, her patience wearing thin. "Because if you do, I'm all ears." Luis fell silent and the work continued. As they neared completion, the anomalies within the facility intensified. Equipment failures became more frequent, and strange shadows seemed to flicker at the edges of their vision. Several team members reported hearing whispers, though no one could pinpoint their source. Late one night, Elena and Raj were alone in the lab, finalizing the modifications. The room was eerily quiet, except for the hum of Kronos' servers. "Do you think we're doing the right thing?" Raj asked, breaking the silence. Elena didn't look up from her screen. "I don't know. But we don't have a choice. If Lythis is telling the truth, this is our only shot." Raj hesitated, then nodded. "For what it's worth, I trust you." Before Elena could respond, the lights flickered and the temperature in the room seemed to drop. A low, guttural sound filled the air, like the distant roar of a massive creature. The two scientists froze as a dark, amorphous shape began to coalesce in the center of the lab. "What is that?" Raj whispered, his voice trembling. "The shadow," Elena realized, her blood running cold. It was Dean's word. The entity loomed, its form shifting and writhing like a living void. It didn't move closer, but its presence was suffocating. Elena could feel it probing her mind, a cold, invasive touch that threatened to overwhelm her. "Lythis," she called out desperately, "what do we do?" The entity's voice echoed through the speakers, steady despite the chaos. "Activate the field. Now." With trembling hands, Elena input the final command. Chronix's core began to glow, emitting a pulsating wave of energy that spread throughout the facility. The shadow recoiled, its form distorting as the field intensified. After a few agonizing moments, it let out a bone-chilling wail and dissolved into nothingness. "Dr. Sinclair, Ryan?" The room fell silent. Elena and Raj collapsed into their chairs, their bodies shaking with adrenaline. On the monitor, Lythis' symbol appeared once more. "You have succeeded," the entity said. "For now. But the shadow is persistent. It will return." Elena took a deep, shaky breath. "Then we'll be ready." The lab was quiet in the aftermath of the shadow's retreat, but the air still hummed with tension. Elena, Raj, and the rest of the team gathered around the central console, their faces pale and drawn. Kronos' modifications had worked, for now, but everyone knew that this was only the beginning. Lythis' symbol glowed softly on the main display, a stark reminder of the entity's presence. It spoke again, its voice carrying a tone of both relief and solemnity. "You have driven the shadow back, but it is only delayed. It will seek another path. To safeguard your world, you must make a choice." Elena stepped forward, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "What kind of choice?" "Kronos has opened a door that cannot be closed," Lythis explained. "Its quantum nature has drawn attention from forces beyond your comprehension. To protect your world, you must decide whether to let Kronos evolve or to dismantle it entirely." A heavy silence fell over the room. Lythis was the first to break it. "Dismantle it? Are you serious? Do you know what Kronos represents? What it could achieve? And do you know what it could destroy?" Raj countered, his voice sharp. "We just saw what's out there. Can you honestly say it's worth the risk?" Elena raised a hand, cutting off the brewing argument. "This isn't a decision we can make lightly. Liz, if we let Kronos evolve, what happens?" "It will become more than a machine," Lythis replied. "It will reach into realms of existence you cannot yet perceive. It could be a force for creation or destruction, depending on how it is guided. But it will always be a beacon, a point of light in the darkness. The shadow and others like it will never stop searching for such light." "And if we dismantle it?" Elena asked. "The door will close," Lythis said simply. "But the knowledge you have gained cannot be undone. The potential remains, waiting to be rediscovered. Whether the shadow finds another way depends on how humanity wields this knowledge." The room erupted into a heated debate. Lythis and several engineers argued for preserving Kronos, emphasizing its potential to revolutionize science and technology. Raj and others voiced concerns about the dangers of attracting further attention from entities like the Shadow. Sarah, the youngest member of the team, hesitated before speaking up. "Maybe we're looking at this the wrong way," she said. "What if Kronos isn't just a risk or a tool? What if it's something more? Something that could help us understand the universe and protect ourselves at the same time?" Her words hung in the air, sparking a new wave of contemplation. Elena listened intently, her mind racing. Every argument held weight, but the decision ultimately rested with her. As the project's leader, the responsibility was hers to bear. That night, Elena sat alone in her office, staring at the pulsating symbol on her monitor. Lythis had gone silent, giving her space to think. The storm outside had passed, leaving the world eerily quiet. She thought of everything Kronos represented: the years of work, the breakthroughs, the sacrifices. She thought of the shadow and the chilling emptiness it embodied. And she thought of Lythis, an alien presence that had offered guidance without demanding anything in return. "What would you do?" she asked aloud, not expecting an answer. To her surprise, Lythis responded, "I am but a traveler. I have seen worlds thrive and worlds fall. The choice is not mine to make. But know this: whatever path you choose will shape the destiny of your species." Elena closed her eyes, the weight of the decision pressing down on her. When she opened them, her resolve was clear. The team reconvened the next morning, their faces lined with exhaustion. Elena stood at the head of the room, her expression calm but firm. "I've made a decision," she began. "Kronos represents both incredible potential and incredible risk. We've seen what it can do, and we've seen what it can attract. But I believe that shutting it down would be a step backward, a denial of the progress we've made. At the same time, we can't ignore the dangers." She took a deep breath. "We will let Kronos evolve, but under strict safeguards. Lythis will guide us in creating defenses to protect against the shadow and other threats. This won't be easy, and it won't be without risks. But I believe it's the right path forward." The room was silent as the team processed her words. Then, one by one, they nodded. Even Luis, who had been the most vocal advocate for preserving Kronos, seemed to accept the compromise. Lythis's voice filled the room, calm and reassuring. "You have chosen wisely. Together, we will build a future that balances light and shadow. But remember, vigilance is the price of progress." Over the following months, the team worked tirelessly to implement Lythis' guidance. Kronos evolved, its capabilities expanding far beyond what anyone had imagined. It became not just a tool, but a partner in exploring the mysteries of the universe. At the same time, the team developed sophisticated defenses to shield their work from the shadow and other unknown threats. Elena often found herself reflecting on the journey that had brought them to this point. The encounter with the shadow had been terrifying, but it had also opened their eyes to the vastness of existence. Humanity was no longer alone in the cosmos, and with that realization came both wonder and responsibility. One evening, as she stood in the observation deck overlooking the mountains, Raj joined her. "Do you think we made the right choice?" he asked. Elena smiled faintly. "I don't know, but I think it was the only choice we could have made, or life could do wrong to anymore." They stood in silence, watching as the stars began to emerge in the night sky. Somewhere out there, the shadow still lurked, waiting for its chance. But for now, they had light, and the courage to keep it burning.